Eric, thank you so much for agreeing to take part in our Great Mind series. We're absolutely delighted to have you participate.
Pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us a bit about the Kantar Group, maybe your global operations, a bit about the history of the company?
We're part of WPP, which is a big marketing services company around the world, and we're the research and insight and consulting part of that. So we've got about 35,000 people around the world. We work with a mixture of corporate and governmental clients, and we're really helping them develop strategies, and those strategies might be around how they enter new markets, how they reposition their brands, how they should allocate their budgets, how they can engage with their customers in a better way, how they can engage with their employees in a different way. And our clients span everything from the government in the UK, for whom we do things like the Retail Price Index and the British Crime Survey, which is a very high-profile piece of business reporting crime statistics and how people feel the impact of crime. And that's very sensitive interviewing because you're asking people to really talk about stuff which is very hard and very personal to them. So everything from that kind of work to working with corporate clients on understanding their brands, helping them develop new products, helping them for Volkswagen develop new cars and doing the design of that and how it should be done. So everything in between really, and we do that globally. So the UK is one of our biggest markets, but we work in I think all markets around the world.
What are some of the key challenges facing this specific sector at the moment, and how do you envisage the sector responding to these challenges?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that clients are going through, and most of our challenges are driven by clients. So most clients need to really have their research and insight work have much greater impact. So they're really looking to think backwards. What's the decision that I need to make differently? What's the business issue? And therefore, what kind of research do I need to enable me to make that decision better? Now, in that kind of context, the world of data is obviously exploding, because in order to answer those kind of questions, we're moving as a business from a business that was primarily in the business of survey research, would go and ask people what they thought about something, and we might ask them in a one-to-one setting, or in their home, or in the context of what they're consuming, you know, at the point of consumption, or it might be that we would ask them through a quantitative survey. Now that's changing completely. We still do all of that, but we now have access to huge amounts of data from social media. So we mine Twitter and we mine Facebook, and to understand what people are actually doing. We can get data without asking people. So as an example, we do more testing of advertising around the world than anyone else. Unilever, before it airs any ad, will test the ad through us to understand whether or not people are responding and engaging in the way that they hoped. And one of the things that we now do is that actually we film people as they watch the ad, and we code their facial response, and we can understand what they're feeling, angry, happy, excited, without actually asking them about it. So the amount of data that we've got and the nature of that data is changing tremendously. And our task is how to incorporate all of that together to answer the kind of questions that we need to clients.
We are noticing the rapid change within the sector with concepts such as big data. It's becoming more prevalent for consumer insights. How does the group use these ideas to drive business success?
Well, in a couple of ways. One is that we incorporate big data into a lot of our existing tools. So we're partnering with LinkedIn in terms of all of the work that we do around employee satisfaction, because we can see what people are actually doing. It's usually a good test of what's happening in a company as to how many people from that particular company are sending out CVs from LinkedIn, and so we use LinkedIn data. We use Twitter data to help us predict people's behaviour, and we actually find that in certain circumstances we can use Twitter data to really understand what people will do faster than any kind of survey response data. So we're incorporating it that way. We use it a lot for targeting purposes. One of our businesses is run by someone called Joel Benenson, who is President Obama's pollster. And Joel kind of was one of the two people who ran the last two election campaigns for the president. And they were really interesting campaigns because they combined what you can do with big data in terms of really understanding polling behaviour, which people to target, who are the swing voters, all of those types of things, with very traditional, basic survey data, really understanding people one-on-one, understanding the kind of language that resonates with them, understand what really motivates them. So that was a really good example, both of those election campaigns, of how to combine big data and small traditional data.
It sounds like there's a lot of emphasis on data and a lot of emphasis on change as well. So what role does innovation play within your organisation, and how is this promoted among your staff?
I think innovation has probably become the single biggest driving force within our business, because no client wants to work with an organisation that they feel isn't leading edge and isn't pushing the boundaries. Most of our clients have got huge issues about the world and the way it's changing, and they know that no one's really got the answers. And we're not presenting ourselves as the people who have got all of the answers. We're really positioning ourselves as the people who know what the questions are to ask. We've got the answers to some of those questions, and we're working on the others. But clients need to feel like they're working with companies that are really pushing out the boundaries. So it's really important that that's genuinely the way that we behave. And with so much more stuff coming through, how we can do things in a way that is faster, more real time, cheaper, gets to the right people. That's really the fundamental change that we need to go through. Now, change is really hard because everyone likes doing things the way that they've done them before. Actually getting people to change their behaviour in terms of how they approach things is hard. And we typically have lots and lots of ideas, but how we actually prioritise which ideas do we really want to focus on, which ideas do we want to scale, and then most importantly, how do we actually get those ideas and those scaled new products into the hands of our people so they can talk to their clients about it. That's a huge education job.
What role does higher education providers play in helping deliver future talent for the sector?
Well, talent's our single biggest issue. It's kind of ironic with unemployment as we have it around the world, that talent is the issue that most companies face. But it is. And actually finding people who have got the right mix of technical skills and people skills and the right attitude is really, really hard. And attitude is a really important part of this, because there are some things that you can train people for and there are some things that you can't train people for. And part of our role as we develop our talent pool is really understanding what are the things that we can teach people and what are the things that just people need to have. And higher education plays a big role because it's really providing the pipeline for us and actually helping get a much bigger group of talented people thinking in a certain way, being open to certain things, being willing to be coached and mentored and trained. That's really our lifeblood.
What role do you think e-learning specifically has in providing a benefit for businesses?
It's a really kind of interesting issue, and it's one that we're grappling with at the moment. If I just come back to our company, which has got a large number of employees globally, there's some training that we do which is face-to-face. We'll get groups of 30 people together for 2 days or a week to really learn about a particular issue or to share best practice amongst themselves or to work through certain issues. But our ability to do that is limited because it touches such a small group of people. Our biggest education issue and our biggest training issue is for the mass of our people who are in the middle of the organisation. They're not the graduates that are coming in that get good training. They're not the top management who get good training. They're the mass of people in the middle. And e-learning to me is fundamental in that respect, because it's the only way that we're going to be able to touch as many people globally as we need to.
What are the core values of the people at Kantar, and how do these impact upon your clients?
People who are honest, who know what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, who are open to learning from their mistakes. You know, we all make mistakes. As individuals and as companies we make mistakes. The key is actually how you respond to those mistakes and whether or not you learn from them and do things differently. So the values of transparency, honesty, objectivity, being self-aware, knowing what you're good at, knowing the impact that you have on other people, being able to inspire other people, being a good role model to other people. And I'm not talking about just people at the top. Everyone in the organisation is actually a role model to other people. So all of those things are incredibly important. And in organisations like ours, it's also really important to take the politics out of the organisation, that people need to not be promoting themselves, they need to be doing what's best for the client. And that's how it then manifests itself in terms of the client, because the people who put the client first do themselves a lot of good, but they also do the client and ultimately the organisation a lot of good in the process.
What kind of leader are you, Eric, and what do you look for leaders who work for you?
I look for people and hope I am myself, someone who's always putting the client and our employees first. And sometimes that means difficult conversations with clients or with people, but they always need to be conversations that you have honestly and upfront and transparently. Much better to have those conversations than to hide from them or hope that the problem goes away. I think the other thing for someone in my position is you need to understand how you can influence people, because I can touch certain clients and I can touch certain people, but my ability to do that is obviously limited. So I travel as much as I possibly can to try and see our clients and our people in the context of how they're working. So you can't do that from London Bridge. You need to be out in the markets and out experiencing what people are experiencing. So you have to be present with clients and with people. You have to be there. You have to be a face to those people, and you need to be accessible. And I think I'm accessible, and anyone, any part of the organisation can pick up the phone and does pick up the phone and email. And I use Twitter a lot as a way of engaging with people internally about certain topics, and it's a way of actually having a conversation with people in a very non-hierarchical way. So I think, again, putting the issues at the forefront and being honest and transparent with people really goes a long way.
And finally, my last question is some advice for our students or graduates who are wishing to enter this sector. What would this be?
Only enter the sector if it's something that you love. Don't do anything that you don't love, because ultimately you get found out. It's not good for you and it's not good for the organisation. We don't need people or want people who are doing it just because it's a job. You need to be passionate about whatever it is that you do. And that's the advice that I give my kids, and that's the advice that I would give to anyone who's applying to any of our businesses. And then I think the other thing is really don't think about learning about marketing just through a textbook. You learn about marketing through your everyday life. When you go through Tesco and you just look at the way that people are shopping and you wonder why they're shopping the way that they do. When you decide to book a flight with a certain airline or a different airline, ask yourself why you're doing that and what the role of the brand was and why do you think people behave that way. If you look at the way that people are or aren't changing their approach to eating healthily or stopping smoking or any of the things where behaviour change is involved, ask yourself why that's happening. So this isn't something that is just come into work, do your job, go home. This is something where luckily the world around us is full of lots of examples of the way that people are behaving, and understanding why people are behaving the way that they are. That kind of curiosity is at the heart of what makes us a good business and makes our best employees the kind of people they are.
Eric, that's been extremely insightful. Thank you so much. On behalf of everyone at the London School of Business and Finance and Global University Systems, thank you.